Boker Tov to everybody. We're in a Shiur Parashat Vayegash, Ezrat Hashem. And as Mr. Posner asked me this week, we started last year on Parashat Bo in the Midrash. And when we finish Bezrat Hashem a year, so maybe a little bit later, or Parashat Yitro, Mishpatim, we'll change Bezrat Hashem to something else. So if you want other options, please tell me. I think to move to temporary issues in halacha, but might be in Mefarshei Mikra, in whatever you want. So just let me know. It's not urgent. We have 2 months. Okay, let's start. We're in Parashat Vayegash, and as we know, at the beginning of the Parsha, we have an encounter, or at the end of Parashat Miketz, we have mifgash, we have an encounter between Yehuda and Yosef, an encounter which turns into danger, because we can feel the tension, we can feel the danger. Yehuda is very angry. He feels that the governor, he doesn't know that it's Yosef, cheats him up, and it's not the first time. And since he counted for Binyamin himself to Yaakov, now he is the one in charge to take care of him. Vayegash elav Yehuda, vayomer bi Adoni, and he speaks very gently, but we'll see in the Midrash, and we can see at the end of Parashat Miketz and the continuation of Parashat Vayegash, that Yehuda is not very nice as well, that he prepares to war as well. ידבר נא עבדך דבר באוזני אדוני, והליך הרפך בעבדך כי חמוך כפרעה. So at the beginning he starts very gently, please let me talk in the name of my אדוני, והליך הרפא בעבדך, don't be angry at me, כי חמוך כפרעה, you're like me, like Paro. And then the Midrash brings a pasuk in Mishlei, בני, אם ערבת לרעך. So if you are the guarantee in a bail for your friend, Arev, your friend wants to take a loan, and you are his Arev, that in case that your friend doesn't pay, you pay. Nokashta beimrei picha, and you have failed by saying something not good. Asezot, okay, so we have the same case in here. We have somebody, Yehuda, who is in bail, be'arvut, to his father, to Yaakov, because he convinced Yaakov to send Binyamin. Otherwise, Yaakov wouldn't send Binyamin, Alai hayu kulanu, as he said last week. And now Yehuda is in trouble, because Yosef wants to take Binyamin, and Yehuda doesn't know what to do. Amar Rabbi Chanina, brach min shalosh v'hidavek b'shalosh. So we have an eitzah, piece of advice. Leave alone 3, and adhere to 3. ברח מן הפקדונות ומן המיונים ומלעשות ערבות בין אדם לחברו. So you think that you make a big mitzvah by being a guarantor in a bail, by helping your friend to take a loan, just because of you, the bank or the loaner agrees to give him the loan. Okay, but don't do that anymore. ברח מן הפקדונות ומן המיונים. Don't deposit money, and don't withdraw money, and don't do bail between בן אדם לחברו, but adhere בחליצה ובהפרת נדרים ובהבאת שלום שבין אדם לחברו. So we see here 3 mitzvot that we might think that they are not mitzvah. What he does is not a mitzvah. If a person does a neder, so we know that there is a big machloket now. It's a daf yomi of nedorim, whether it's a good or not good to do nedorim. But even if it's not good, once I have been noider to cancel it, leafer et neder, doesn't mean anything. Why is it good? No, the Miller says it's good. And chalitza, there is a zika, a linkage between, a person died without kids and he has a wife, and according to halacha, his brother should marry out his sister-in-law. It's called Yibum, but in some cases he doesn't want, she doesn't want, so they make chalitza. So he debek bechalitza. It's good, you know. Sometimes it's good to disconnect, to tear the ties. But you clarify that you're not involved, you're not interested, and it's okay. It's better than being involved in some way. So chalitza is good. Hafarat nedarim, canceling the neder is good, because then you know that you're cleared out. You don't have to do anything with a neder. Uve'avaat shalom sheben adam lechavero. Okay, so here the Midrash gives an eitzah to Yehuda not to be involved in Baal, because it enforces him to get into the battle, to get into the war, to threaten at Yosef, and to be involved in a very unpleasant situation in which he threatens at Yosef, and Yosef might kill him as well. Not good. הידבק, adhere to chalitza ובהפרת נדרים ובהבאת שלום של בן אדם לחברו. Okay, so maybe there is some ironic in the Midrash against the Yehuda, because once you started with all the things, you were the leader of the brothers, and they hated Yosef. He made dibatam ra'el avihem. You did nothing in order to make shalom between them and him. And once you did it, you wouldn't have to do what you're doing now with Yosef. So just go to the secondary things, but then sometimes you don't need the primary things. אמר רב ברכי, אמר רב שמעון בר אבא, לית שמי פיקדון, אלא pukdon, by depositing, so it makes a משחק מילים on the picadon, deposit, להפקיד, it's pukdun, okay, so puk, it's להסתכל, to see, and dun is, you have a din, okay, something like this. So he makes a משחק out of the word picadon, which is probably Hebrew, based on pakad, shoresh pei kuf daled, to a point, to deposit. Pukdon, just let's see what's judgment gets out of it. So meaning that it's not good. Okay. דבר אחר, בני אם ערבת לרעך, so the Midrash explicitly relates the pasuk in Mishlei to Yehuda. It's not stam, a person that is in charge of his friend, that is a guarantor. No, it's Yehuda. אם ערבת לרעך, זה יהודה that said explicitly to his father, אנוכי אערבנו. תקעת לזר כפיך, תקיעת כף, meaning handshaking. Promise. You have promised Yaakov, miyadi tevakshenu. You would ask Binyamin from my hand. So it's mamash like tkiyat kaf, like a promise, which is sometimes stronger, even in halacha, than an explicit promise, than a contract. Sometimes if you handshake, that's the best thing. Nokashta beimrei picha. You have failed in what you had said, because you told Yaakov, I'll bring Binyamin, and you failed. Now you got into an unpleasant situation in which you cannot do anything, because the governor, Yosef, takes Binyamin and thinks that he is a thief. עשה זאת בני וינצל. לך והידבק בעפר רגליו, וקבל מלכותו ואדנותו. So the pasuk in Mishlei advises the person in trouble to להשפיל עצמו, to be, להידבק בעפק רגליו, to get or to coronate the governor in front of him, and to give him the honor, not to fight with him. Vayegash elav Yehuda. And it's interesting because according to the first midrash, Vayegash elav Yehuda, unlike what all I've said at the beginning of the Shiur, that we have a tangent that we'll see in the future, in the Midrash, the following Midrash. But according to the first Midrash, Yehuda becomes soft. Vayegash elav. So Yehuda makes a step towards Yosef, not Yosef has to do the step, towards Yehuda. Yehuda coronates Yosef. He admits that he cannot do anything, that Yosef is a governor right now, and I have to deal with his all shigonot, okay, meshugas, because he is the one in charge now. And vekabel malchuto ve'adnuto. Tell him, you're the master, you're the Lord, and that's why he said, Adoni, Adoni, Adoni. And we cannot neglect the comparison to Yaakov when he comes from Haran, from Lavan, and he is about to meet Esav after 20 years. And the Midrash has a lot of criticism about him, that he says several times, 7 times, Adoni, 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 Adoni. Yes, he bows to Esav too many times, and he makes the impression that he's Esav's slaves. Chazal didn't like it, but here Chazal brings a pasuk in Mishlei that says explicitly to do it as it is, to be a slave in front of Yosef. Okay, let's go and see mamash the opposite shita in the following midrash. The following midrash starts with a pasuk. It's a famous pasuk. Ki hinei hamelachim no'adu avru yachdav. So David HaMelech in Tehillim Perek Memchet describes, I see the kings, they gather together, and he talks about the tension, the metach before the war. Let's say that you see Putin and the leader of Ukraine, and they sit in one meeting together. But you know that each one of them impresses or encompasses a different nation, different hopes, different intentions. Putin wants to take control on Ukraine, and Zelensky wants to, just to defend Ukraine, etc. So we see the kings. We see from Ki Hinei HaMelachim, the Yehuda v'Yosef. We see from the one side 2 kings. Yosef, as a Mishneh LeMelech, and Yehuda, Rosh b'Rosh, face to face. Avru yachdav. So Avru yachdav, usually we can understand no'adu, which it means gathered together. But Avru yachdav, they have passed together. We saw them here and now they're there. That's a pshat. But the Midrash understand Avru, not leshon, to pass over, לעקוף or לעבור, אלא עברה, לשון כעס, anger. זה נתמלא עברה על זה, וזה נתמלא עברה על זה. So we have here 2 very angry kings from both sides. Each one is very angry at the one from the other side, and it's a chidush, because we can understand that Yehuda is very angry at Yosef. He doesn't like the games. He doesn't like the thinking Binyamin as a thief. But why should Yosef be angry at Yehuda? So maybe that's the Midrash describes here that Yosef goes back to the situation from 20 years ago when he was sold into slavery, and he understands that Yehuda was a leader of the brothers, and even though that Yehuda saved him in a way, or wanted to save him, but he took him from the pit hole and he sold him to slavery. But Yosef maybe is angry at Yehuda, or he doesn't know that Yehuda is Arev for Binyamin, and he doesn't understand why Yehuda gets into trouble and disturbs him when Yehuda doesn't have any reason to do that. In a minute, he'll know that Yehuda is Arev, and then he'll understand that Yehuda has made a tshuva, and all the brothers have made a tshuva, and now they're Arevim ze lazeh, and they take care for each other. But as to now, at the beginning of Parshat Vayegash, he doesn't know that. And that's why he's in Tmale Evra al Zeh. Hema ra'u ken tamau. So it's a continuation of the Pasuk in Tehillim Memchet, that the kings watch away and they wonder. Lama? Vayitmehu ha'anashim ish el re'u. So it brings you back the Pasuk at the end of Parashat Miketz, when the Shaliach of Yosef finds the cup of wine in the sack of Binyamin. So vayitmehu ha'anashim ish el re'u. They don't understand what's going on. Nivhalu nechpazu. So the kings in the Pasuk in Tehillim, they get nivhalu, okay, to get surprised, and they are in a rush. And the Midrash understands that everything talks about Yehuda and Yosef. V'lo yachlu echav la'anot oto ki nivhalu mipanav. We'll see in few minutes, in few psukim, the beginning of Parashat Vayegash, that the Achim cannot confront the meeting with their brother. Okay. Re'ada achaztam sham elu hashvatim. Okay, so they're shivering out of fear. That's the tribes. Amru melachim medainim elu im elu. Anu ma ichpat lanu? Ya'i lemelech midayen im melech. Okay, so Yehuda and Yosef have a peak, have a meeting. Why do we care? I am Issachar, Zvulun. I'm just one of the tribes. I'm not the king of them. I'm not the leader. I don't have the responsibility. So let them fight. Okay, so at the beginning, we could understand from the Midrash the tension of Mamash, maybe Milchemet Olam, like Russia and the United States, or China and the United States. We see that Yosef, the manhig of Paro and Egypt from the one side, and the Yehuda, the leader of the tribes from the other side. But now we see the adishut, the aloofness of the brothers. They don't care. But they say, okay, let Yehuda discuss it with Yosef. Leave us alone. Vayegash elav Yehuda. אחד באחד ייגשו, זה יהודה ויוסף, ורווח לא יבוא ביניהם, או רוח לא יבוא ביניהם, אלו השבטים. אמרו, מלכים מדיינים אלו עם אלו, אנו, מה אכפת לנו? So we can see here a criticism between Yaakov and between the Midrash to the שבטים. The שבטים keep on failing in understanding the situation, understanding the importance and the significance of the moment. They don't understand that that's a big encounter between them and Yosef. They don't know that it's Yosef. Okay. And even though they know it afterwards, they understand that, okay, it's a meeting between Yehuda and Yosef. He'll discuss. He'll take care of Binyamin and let him free, but they don't understand that it's a matter that touches each one of them and takes care of each one of them. They have to be involved, and they are aloof, madishim. They say, okay, he'll do it for us, and that's chaval, because that's a problem of a leader, that sometimes the leader doesn't have the support from the nation that he represents in front of others. He cares, he wants to do several things, but they don't care. They say, okay, he'll do it for us. We don't care at all. So that's a problem in that Midrash shows us in the meeting between the Shvatim and Yosef. Okay? So from the one hand, we saw Midrash Aleph, that Yehuda softens himself and bends and bows in front of Yosef in order to soften him. The second Midrash shows the crash between the two kings, the big kings from each side, but the aloofness, the adishut of the tribes from the other side. Davar acher. Vayegash elav Yehuda, so a famous pasuk in Mishlei says, Tapuchei zahav b'maskiyot kesef, davar davur al ofanav. So Mishlei, Shlomo Melech says, we have golden apples, we have beautiful apples in the sakiyot. Maskiyot means bars or boxes or sacks or whatever, made of silver. So we can see the silver from the outside because you see the sack or the box or the bars, but inside you see that there is something which is more precious, as zahav, the golden apples, davar davur al ofanav. So if somebody speaks nicely, gently, and from the A, B, C, step by step till the Z, so that's like apples, tapuchei zahav v'mashkiot kesef. He has good material, tapuchei zahav, and he brings it in good sacks or good boxes or good bars, in good means, mashkiot kesef. That's a pshat. Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim is a beautiful pshat, but never mind. Tirgem Akilas Hager. We have Akilas Hager. He was a ger that התגייר throughout the תקופה of the Romans, and he translated into Aramaic, חזורין דזהב, בגו דיסקרין דכסף. אוקיי? דבר דבור על אופניו. מה אופן זה מראה פנים מכל צד? כך היו דברים של יהודה נראים מכל צד בשעה שדיבר עם יוסף. So I understand that he understands the תפוחי זהב ומשקיעות כסף, as I understand. דיסקרין is money, and חזורין means I think coins, the same thing. But he understands דבר דבור על אופניו, it's a phrase in Hebrew, דבר דבור על אופניו, meaning you do it properly. So he understands the word ofanav from ofan in Yechezkel. We know in Maaseh Merkavah that we find ofanim, as we say every day, ve'ofanim v'chayot HaKodesh. So what does it mean, ofanim? It's one of the heavenly animals, but what does it mean? Ofan, we see in Yechezkel that it has four faces. To each direction it has face, meaning that you can see it from each side. כך היו דבריו של יהודה נראים לכל צד בשעה שדיבר עם יוסף. So if you sat from in front of Yehuda and you listen to him from Yosef's side, from Yehuda's side, from other side, you'll be neutral, you'll be subjective, you'll be objective. From each side, you can understand, you can להזדהות, you can identify with what Yehuda is saying, meaning that Yehuda spoke from his heart, that he convinced, that he didn't speak in vain, that it was a real speech that he gave to Yosef. Okay. דבר אחר, ויגש אליו יהודה, מים עמוקים עצה בלב איש. So Shlomo HaMelech speaks that, about a piece of advice that sometimes is hidden deep enough in the heart. It's like deep water. And משל לבאר עמוקה מלאת צונן. We have a very deep and still well, full of good chilled water. והיו מימיה צוננים ויפים, ולא הייתה בריאה יכולה לשתות ממנה. The disadvantage is that it's good water, but it's far deep in the ground. I cannot get to it. So we need the ba'echad, we need the one chocham that came. וקשר חבל בחבל, he tied a rope to a rope, ונימה בנימה, משיכה במשיכה, ודלה הימנה ושתה. So he gives you the means, he gives you the buckle, in order, the bucket, in order to pull the water out of the well. התחילו הכל דולים הימנה ושותים. Okay, so here you have Yosef is the deep well with the good water. He has inside meaning is that you have to convince your enemy. You have to convince him in your shita, in your attitude. And he has it in his heart. It's a well, and he has the good intentions, the good water, the good chilled water in his heart. It's just a matter of a means, how you get to it. You know, sometimes we have discussions between people and you want to convince and you hear or you feel that you cannot convince him because he is stuck in his mind. Nothing would help him understanding what you want to say. So the Midrash here says no. Usually, even in this case, that Yosef from one perspective just played with them and made games with them and was very not nice to them, but good speech, good convince, good understanding of your own attitude, your own feeling would help. And that's כך לא זז יהודה, משיב ליוסף דבר על דבר, עד שעמד על ליבו. To tell you the truth, it's interesting because when I read the Torah, it's very, I adhere with Yehuda. You know, Yehuda doesn't understand what's going on with Yosef. Yosef blames him in being spies at the beginning, and then tells him to arrest Shimon, and then tries to arrest Binyamin as well. And so Yehuda tells him a very simple thing. I have an old father. There is a ra'av, hunger in Eretz Israel. We came to bring food, etc. And one of the sons was taken. And the other one is taken, Shimon. And you want to take the third one. And I am in bail, okay? He says very simple things. But the Midrash understands that the encounter here, it's apparently that Yehuda didn't convince Yosef just by saying the facts, by saying, I have an old father, because, okay, and it's true that Yosef knew and took care of his old father and maybe touched him. No, but as a Midrash understand that Yehuda convinces Yosef and tells him the whole story from the beginning and from all the side, אופנים, and מה אופן זה מראה פנים מכל צד, כך היו דברים של יהודה נראים מכל צד, and he ties a rope in a rope, and one sentence in another, in order to convince him till עד שעמד על ליבו. So we have two things here. One is a hope that even if you have somebody which is very stiff and is very, you don't think that you can convince him, always think that there is a deep well in his heart. You should just touch it. That's one thing. The other one is that Yehuda really knows how to do it. That he really makes all the efforts in order to put it in Yosef's mind. Let's do another one or two and then finish. Vayegash elav Yehuda. So we have a pasuk, an optimistic pasuk in Amos, הנה ימים באים ניגש נאום השם, וניגש חורש בקוצר, ודורך ענבים במושך הזרע. Okay, so it won't take long between the time that you harvest and plow your ground, but once you plow it, everything will grow up and you'll be able to be koitzarit. Choresh זה Yehuda, because Yehuda makes a charisha, okay, makes a nisyonot to plow, to try to convince. He is a means. He is as we saw, the rope. He is a maskiot kesef. He is a bar, the box, the means to convince Yosef. And the קוצר זה יוסף, שנאמר, והנה אנחנו מעלמים עלומים בתוך השדה. So it's interesting, the חלום of Yosef from which he started, talking not just about תבואה in general, but about מעלמים עלומים. So Yosef is a practical one. He has he is harvesting. He has alumot. He has a final the final תוצאה of everything he brings, okay? ודורך ענבים, when you make wine, so you put all the grapes in one pitfall and you step on it, right? So זה יהודה, כי דרכתי ליהודה קשת. So the Midrash brings לדרוך קשת, to prepare the ark, meaning, and lidroch, to step on wine, is the same thing, meaning both of them that you are not the practical one with the conclusion, you are the one who makes the means, okay? Okay, so we have Yehuda, like getting ready with the arcs, with the kshatot, or Dorech Hanavim, steps on the wine. Both of them saying that Yehuda is the one to make the product, not the one to harvest, not the one to take it, to get it at the end, but the one to prepare it. B'Moshe Chazara, who is Moshe Chazara? Ze Yosef, and the Midrash very nicely says, Shemashech zar'o shel aviv ve'orido leMitzrayim. So Moshe Chazara, not like agricultural issues as we understand from the Pasuk in Amos. The Midrash understands that Yosef has pulled his brothers, his father descendants, and caused them to get into Mitzrayim. כדכתיב בחבלי אדם עם שכם. ויטפו ההרים עסיס, אלו השבטים. Okay, so we have everything. We have Yehuda from one side as a person who prepares everything, who makes, and we see here gently that the Midrash sees that it's not just that Yosef was a master of the whole show, and at the end of it, Yehuda got angry and decided to convince him, and then Yosef got very surprised, and okay, and he revealed himself and said, I am Yosef, and that was a story. That's pshat. But we understand here it's a big a big process, a big talich, starting from Yehuda, that he is the one in charge of the preparer, of the achana, preparation, of the harisha, plowing, of the making the rope, in order to pull water from the well. Yosef is the one with the end, with the final conclusion, with the harvesting, with a well itself, with the water. And they both have a role in this show. Yosef has to give the final decision to bring all the kids of his brothers to Mitzrayim from Eretz Israel, and Yehuda should make his own step by convincing him, by saying it the right way, etc. But again, we see the Midrash, יטפו הערים עסיס אלו השבטים, אמרו מלכים מדיינים אלו עם אלו, אנו מה אכפת לנו. So again and again and again we see the aloofness of the brothers, and as in real life, they neglect themselves and just leave just two of them, Yosef and Yehuda, one from each side, to deal with the whole situation, while the others do nothing. As we saw at the beginning, that Yehuda makes a step in order to Yosef, so the brothers do nothing. They don't do any step. They don't care. They just let their representative Yehuda deal with Yosef, and it's chaval, because maybe the end of the days, Acharit Hayamim, would be when every tribe has his own role in giving his own share in the big map of the Shvatim of Am Yisrael, not just the two leaders of them. Let's finish with this, and Shavua Tov. Good morning. Shavua Tov. Toda Rabba.